Are you using the right magic words to attract, convince, and convert your ideal client online? Are you telling a story that is personal to you, that people can relate with? Where and how are you amplifying that message? Publish content that's a little bit more personal to you in terms of what you like, what a day in the life is like. Focus less on the memes in order to like get engagement, and more so on like the content, the personal and demonstrative content, to kind of demonstrate the value and the benefits of investing into a personal brand. And I use kind of a pizza shop concept as the metaphor here. Well, I would say that experience could be something that would help motivate others, that you got through it and such. But sometimes people are just like, you know what? I don't want to talk about that. And that's fine. Some of the smallest, what you would think most insignificant elements of people's lives they've put out there on content have been reasons why clients have reached out to them.
Hey guys, welcome back to the BAD Academy podcast. I'm super excited to have you here as always. And today I have another interesting guest for you, someone who knows quite a bit about personal branding. And I'm sure you all heard about personal branding. It kind of became a buzzword these days in the online world. And there's a reason behind it, because it's extremely important. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. So I would like to introduce you to Dave Polykoff, who is your friendly neighborhood personal brand consultant, helping entrepreneurs launch, grow, and monetize their personal brands so they earn more clients, cash, and clout. Welcome to the show.
Alex, thank you so much for having me. And yeah, as you mentioned, personal branding is exploding these days, and I'm happy to be kind of riding that wave and have a good conversation with you today. So I'm excited.
Yeah, of course. Well, let's chat about that. So we had a chat prior to that a little bit, spoke about different things. I even have some notes over here. So could you share with people, because a lot of people hear the word personal brand, right? Could you share with entrepreneurs, what does it really mean?
Yeah, it's a kind of an interesting buzzword that's going around. Sometimes I mention, people ask, what do you do? The dreaded question, right? And I go, I'm a personal brand consultant. And they're like, personal brand? They don't really think of the two things being the same. But really, think of personal branding, if we all think of ourselves as what I like to call a me LLC. We're all individual businesses, right? We should treat our lives as such. We have finances we need to worry about. We have a business model, an offer that we provide the world. Even if you're like a W-2 employee, your offer is still whatever you provide that business. We have partners, right? We have relationships in our life that we use to help grow families and such. So if you really think about it, we are all kind of individual businesses, and we should think of ourselves as such. Personal branding is just applying the same marketing and business plan principles that you would put on a traditional mom and pop shop for yourself. It's creating your own personal brand business plan, creating a marketing plan around that, creating brand guidelines around it, creating messaging and story around it, and then amplifying that message to an audience in order to attract some type of attention for a purpose. And that purpose you should have defined early on in your business career, but that should be whether you are trying to, if you're a W-2 employee, trying to maybe get a raise, get a job somewhere else. Maybe if you want to have your own products or services, trying to earn more clients for that service or sell digital products. But essentially, it's telling your story, it's amplifying your story so that you can attract attention for some monetary purpose traditionally.
Okay, wow, that's a really open answer. I love it.
Thought about it once or twice,
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you ask a question and you get like a couple of words back, and it's like, oh, okay, well, that's okay. I love it. So you just shared quite a bit what a personal brand is. Could you explain what people should start with? Because there are so many different things that people could do, and how they could present themselves in the online world. What should, in your opinion, people start with? Like, what's that first step that they should take?
Sure. So really, it depends on where you are in your personal brand journey. Many clients come to me who are W-2 employees, C-suites that want to get out of the traditional employee role and start building their kind of solo business, but they don't know how to translate what they've done in the employee W-2 universe into a solo business. So at that point, if that's you, the first thing we need to figure out is, okay, what niche are you going to be in and what business model are you going to be in? The niche is like the toughest part for so many people, right? They're multi-passionate. Oh, I love Marvel and I could geek out about Marvel all day. I'd love to create a YouTube channel about that. But I also am really good with, finance or something, right? So I don't know how to kind of combine all these things. So finding the niche is the first thing. Then it's the business model around that. Things we want to consider are, what do you want your day to look like when you are, fulfilling your personal brand? If you're going to be providing services, it means you're going to be interacting with clients. And not a lot of people like to take client calls or have sales calls and all that kind of stuff. So that's one business model. The other is like digital products. Do you want to be kind of grow an audience and then sell courses or templates and things like that? You don't have to really interact with your customer too much because they're just buying while you sleep. So if you're just launching a personal brand, and trying to figure out what your offer is, those are some of the things you need to consider. If you already have a personal brand and you're just kind of like not seeing the success that you want, a lot of times the best thing to do is what we call kind of relaunch your personal brand. And this is where we're going back and looking at your offer, your target market, and then your messaging. So let's just, for simplicity's sake, say that your offer and your target market are correct, and that's fine. Most likely it's coming down to the messaging, right? Are you using the right magic words to attract, convince, and convert your ideal client online? Are you telling a story that is personal to you, that people can relate with, that people are being attracted to and wanting to learn more about? Are you being authentic online? Are you sharing, stories about yourself or tidbits about your life that people can connect to and go, okay, I trust this person. I too, I'm just going to keep using Marvel because I'm a big Marvel fan, but I too love Marvel and this person loves Marvel. I connect with this person. I immediately gain touch. So the long and short of it is, first steps, depending on where you are in your journey, is to really define what your business model is going to be. If you already have the business model and it's not working, take a look at your messaging and see how we can refine that. And then lastly, where and how are you amplifying that message? And sometimes speaking to an audience that doesn't exist on a platform where they're not at is a lot of times why people are struggling as well, is because they're just showing up in the wrong places.
Yeah, that is important to know where your audience is spending their time on, like where they congregate.
Yeah.
That's usually one of the first steps that we look at. Well, knowing your ideal client, pretty much. So you mentioned you're talking about the W-2 employees or C-suite executives that want to start their solo business. We do work with quite a few solopreneurs, and I'm referring mostly to insurance and real estate agents, so
Mm.
agents in general. Could you share how um, they could implement the the things that you just mentioned in their business, specifically being an agent and making sure that people come to them instead of them running after prospects and trying to find leads and clients, because usually that's
Yeah.
one of the toughest things, especially like in their case. There are almost 2 million real estate agents and I think
Mm.
a million insurance agents, so the market is oversaturated, but a lot of them definitely need to build their personal brands.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no one likes to chase. We all want to just attract, right? And yeah, to your point, there's it's oversaturated. How do you differentiate yourself? What I've seen in the real estate market is typically the real estate agents are creating content that other real estate agents interact with and enjoy. And they might see their follower counts or their engagement go up, but it's only because it's other real estate agents engaging with that content. Typically it's relatable content that other real estate agents can relate to instead of content that allows me to understand you as a person and your competencies within real estate and being able to close a deal for me and quickly. Um, what I say is social media is really used for allowing me to, one, trust you and like you. I first, like, social media typically is just like, hey, does this person pass the vibe check? That's why
Hmm.
I say, like, publish content that's a little bit more personal to you in terms of what you like, what a day in the life is like, the hobbies that you have, because people just want to, like, first like you and then explore more into what you do. So with real estate content, I would say first and foremost, especially a large thing that I say as well, is for any, like, coach, consultant, in-person agent, someone that you're going to be spending time with, especially with one of the largest purchasing decisions of your life, like a house,
Hmm.
and you're going to be going out and interacting, having phone calls with this person, going on house tours with this person. You want to trust that they're going to be a really great agent, but you also just want to like the person because you're going to be there in person with at these places with them, spending a lot of time with them in stressful situations like putting bids on, multi-thousand, hundreds of $1,000 houses. You just want to trust and like the person that you're going through that experience with. So largely the content that you're publishing, focus less on, like, the meme videos that just other real estate agents go, oh, I totally relate to that, I'm going to like that, and publish more content of, like, what is your life? What can I expect when I interact with you at a showing? And then also, like, do you know your shit? Like, pretend to go through a house tour as a point of view type of video and walk me through as if you are my realtor showing me the house, and point out things in the house that maybe I would care about or that someone should care about in terms of, like, ooh, looks like there's some crack in the foundation here. That's probably going to have to be something we put on the offer or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Or, oh, new appliances. That's great. That means you don't have to buy new appliances. So, like, demonstrate for me that when we go into the field and actually go on these tours, that I'm going to enjoy my experience going on these tours with you, and that you're going to know your stuff, so that things I don't even am thinking about, you already have the answers to, or to point out. So I would say for real estate agents, focus less on the memes in order to, like, get engagement, and more so on, like, the content, the personal and demonstrative content.
So, how much of the content, let's say percentage wise, how much of it should be personal, educational, and promotional?
Yeah, it's a great question. I see it. I mean, it's, if you think about it, it's really the content funnel. So the top of the funnel is more personal content that's associating you with your industry or shedding light on your day to day and who you are as a person. That type of content should be about 25% of your content. The 60% in that middle funnel, which is middle of funnel content, is more demonstrative content. This is, I trust this person with a large purchasing decision because they know their stuff. That type of content should be about 60% of your content. And then, does that leave about 15% of my, or 25%? 15% should be
Yeah.
more promotional content. You don't, and the thing to consider here is any piece of content can incorporate personal elements of your life. Any piece of content can incorporate demonstrative um, elements to the content, and any piece of content can also have a call to action that can be a bit more promotional. So, for example, you could demonstrate your knowledge um, about giving house tours and give a case study of someone that you gave a house tour with and how they didn't know to look for something within the house, but you did. And then you pointed it out and it saved them from putting a high offer onto that house and yada, 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 right? And incorporate some story that gives more context to your interests, hobbies, lifestyle, whatnot. And then at the end, go, if you want to avoid catastrophe like this, shoot me a DM and let's chat through what your housing needs are. So just at the end, you're throwing in a quick call to action. So you don't have to be like, it doesn't have to be an infomercial. When we talk about like promotional content, you're not giving a 60-second infomercial on your services. You're just leaning a little bit more towards like, I'm posting this because I want someone to take an action and DM me. So any post can be incorporate all three, but many times what you want to do when you're publishing content is go in with the intention of like, hey, this one might not drive a bunch of DMs or website inquiries, but for those who do stumble on it, it's going to be kind of like, oh, you know what? 1 point in the trust bucket for after I consume this content because, I
Hmm.
too enjoy some of the things that they talked about in the video.
Yeah, you actually made a great point regarding the trust bucket because I don't know if you've heard of the study that Google did. They called it 7-11-4. They wanted to see how much time it takes a person to get from not knowing about the company to becoming their client, whether it's online or offline. These days, on average, it takes people to consume 7 hours of content
Mm.
um, with 11 touch points across 4 different channels. So having that content, as you mentioned, it's so important. Like building the trust. That's how people buy from us at the end of the day. When the people buy from you when they know, like, and trust you. So yeah,
Yeah.
building a personal brand is definitely something that
Well, to that point, a lot of people focus on short form social content, right? So, and just social content.
mhm.
So, if it takes 7 hours for someone to finally make a purchasing decision, I don't know how many 30-second, reels they need to watch to get to that 7 hours
Yeah,
versus short form content again is mainly there for people to for you to pass the vibe check with people. Hey, this person seems trustworthy. They seem to know what they're talking about within this industry that I'm interested in. And I also just enjoy their humor, their vibe, their way of thinking. They pass the sniff test. And then you want to move them to longer form content. So that could be a podcast, YouTube channel. This is longer form content where you might have an hour long podcast or an hour long, just like talking head video explaining, demonstrating your knowledge around the industry and the how to. So now it just takes maybe for them to consume maybe 3 to 5 of those videos to build that trust and make a purchase versus them just being kind of like tire kickers and silent watchers of your shorts, for months and months and months. So you can decrease that sales cycle if you're actually creating longer form content.
yeah, that makes so much sense, and more and more people should definitely start doing longer form content as well, because it's not just about reels anymore. Uh, Based on everything that we're seeing these days, because again, you
Yeah.
can only go so far with reels.
Yeah, well, it's a heavy lift, so I get it.
Yeah,
People don't like to be in front of video. They don't like the setups to create a podcast and longer form content is a heavy lift, so I get it.
yeah. Honestly, like what I noticed is like they don't even necessarily need to star there on podcast. They could literally go. They can literally be a guest on other podcasts in their, let's say, city that are that on the podcast that of hosts that live in the city, because most of the times those people listen to podcasts local as well.
Mm,
Or if those the go-to industry people, if they have some kind of a show, so being a guest on those type of podcasts also definitely helps.
yeah, well, that's why it kind of goes back to before you start going out there and like preaching from your soapbox to the world or hopping on podcasts again, going back to the messaging side of things, make sure that you have refined messaging that like you can speak to your offer, your industry, your unique methods, and the stories that you have that you can bring up in podcast interviews. That's how you become a memorable guest. Is like you have tactics, methods, stories that people remember. Otherwise you're kind of just fumbling through your words a lot of times. I've seen that a lot. I did that early on in my podcasting days, is just trying to reach for things to talk about. But if you kind of have your arsenal of your messaging, your topics, your stories at your disposal at all times already, it makes the podcasting side of things you'll see a bigger return on investment, we'll say, for that effort.
Yeah, I've seen that myself.
Yeah.
Well, interesting. So, since we started talking about solopreneurs and real estate in this case, when we had our previous call, you mentioned something. You shared with me that story about pizza. Could you share with the audience? Because I really love the metaphor, especially like again, in case with real estate agents, insurance, and honestly, at this point, I guess each and every industry has a lot of competition. So could you share with the audience the the story about the
The
pizza? Because I
concept.
think each and every person and company can definitely use that for themselves.
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure your audience right now is so curious that you're saying the story about pizza. So this is like a metaphor that I came up with just to kind of, again, this is a metaphor I have in my messaging bank here, to kind of demonstrate the value and the benefits of investing into a personal brand. And I use kind of a pizza shop concept as the metaphor here. So the idea is that you're starving, you're driving down the road, you pull into kind of a strip mall, you're just craving some pizza, right? That's going to just fill you up. That's your desire. Now you go up to the strip mall and there's two pizza joints right next to each other. Don't ask me why, but they are. On the left is a boarded up storefront, can't see through the windows, and all it says on the front is "We sell pizza." And that's it, right? You know it's a pizza place because it says "We sell pizza," but you don't really see any type of unique branding or branding at all. And you don't know anything about the pizza shop. You just know if you go in there, they probably sell pizza. That is what 99.9% of us are doing on LinkedIn and just in our online presence overall. We put on our business card, you know, financial accountant or business coach or fitness trainer. That and no unique branding, nothing that's telling us anything about yourself. It's just like, this is what I do. This is who I am, my role. And we're not really enticed into like learning more about that person because I know 100 fitness trainers, I know 100 accountants, like why you, etc. But next to that pizza shop is another pizza shop that has a glowing branded sign that says like Al's Pizza and fancy lettering. Underneath that, there's this glass window where you can see into the pizza shop. Inside, you can see the people behind the counter making the sauce, and you can see the ingredients that are going into the sauce. You can see them tossing the dough. You can see inside a bunch of 5-star reviews from happy clients or customers. You can see on the front window there's A+ rating from the food inspection company and whatnot. You can see other people actively eating that pizza and them being happy. This is the concept of what personal branding is. It's differentiating yourself amongst the boarded up windows that all of your competition is doing right now. And it's allowing insight into your life, into your business, again, your personal business, and showing how the pizza is made, right? So demonstrating for people how the sauce is being made, how the dough is being tossed, and getting people excited and hungry to want to buy your pizza. So to kind of correlate this to content, right? Demonstrative content. That's that 60%, that middle of funnel content. Show people how your pizza is made. Walk people through your process. What are you doing? Show happy clients that have tried, quote unquote, your pizza and are happy with that pizza. Show any awards that you've got from industries. Brand yourself uniquely so that your pizza shop stands out from all the other pizza shops. So when people see think about McDonald's, the golden arches. As soon as you see the golden arches, you immediately think McDonald's. define your golden arches branding. And we call that the visual identity. So to kind of put a bow on the idea, it's most, if not the majority of your competition is the boarded up pizza shop that just says we sell pizza, and they're hoping that's good enough to attract, convince, and convert their ideal client. You need to become that glowing storefront window, branded storefront window that we can see into your business and understand when you put that sign out front that says, the town's best pizza rated, number one by so and so, whatever. Back that up with demonstrative content that we can see. Okay, I can understand why this works, why there's so many happy clients. So that's kind of the metaphor, the visual to really, when you go ahead and just go look at your online presence, go look at your LinkedIn right now, or whatever platform that you're trying to promote yourself on, and approach it with that mindset. Like, am I really that glowing storefront window that is allowing people to want to learn more about me and trust my business? Or am I that boarded up window that's, people are just going to swipe away or click away and not want to engage any further?
Yeah, I love that example. Like after we spoke last time, I've been thinking about that, and it makes so much sense. And you did mention creating educational content uh, in order to pretty much help people. And as I'm sure you've heard of, or Frank Kern.
I'm sorry, who?
Frank Kern
No.
is, yeah. So I like the saying that he has. You need to basically help people by actually helping them through your content, and that's how you pretty much build that trust with people. One thing that I wanted to ask you, because I mentioned that it's important to share your personal life in a way. I know some people, like when I talk to them about the content, they say, "Well, I don't want to share anything about my kids or my family." What would you tell to those type of people? Because in reality, well, that's at least what I believe. They don't necessarily need to share that. Like the best, I guess, example in that would be Gary Vee, because you know everything about him, but nothing about his personal life.
He talks about his kids sometimes. I didn't even know this man had kids
Well,
for the longest time. It's true. Like, you see this man's whole life, except, you see him in cars, you see him at the office, on stage, but I didn't even know he had kids because he never posts anything about them.
yeah. So, in your experience, when you work with your clients, do most of them share their personal life, or they prefer not to?
Yeah. Don't post anything you don't want to post about. And I think kids is a large, I don't have kids myself, none that I know about, as I say. And if that's like, so I can't relate 100%, but I know that if you want to protect your kids' anonymity and all that, 100% understand why, and don't post them. I know people who are doing really well with their personal brand, and they do post their kids, and it's just each their own. But just using that as one example, it could be anything else about your life. Maybe you went through a really bad experience, and while I would say that experience could be something that would help motivate others, that you got through it and such. But sometimes people are just like, you know what, I don't want to talk about that. And that's fine. The personal side of things, like I said, can be as small as you just love Marvel movies. And
Mm-hmm.
so you just incorporate that. Or it could be a hobby that you have. Um, we don't have to get super, super personal. We don't have to read your diary every day. It's just give us more insight into, like, if we were to grab a beer, what are some of the topics we would talk about? That you would be okay talking about, is all it is. Um, and maybe if you're grabbing a beer, you're a little bit more loose tongue, but just get into the smaller things, because it's funny. I've had clients, and I've heard stories of, like, some of the smallest, what you would think most insignificant elements of people's lives they've put out there on content have been reasons why clients have reached out to them. It's been, I saw that you also like to dance, and I was a professional dancer for like 10 years. So that resonated with me. I just wanted to reach out, etc. Right. And it's something as small as that people just, again, it's just passing the vibe check. I consider it, if you think think of it this way as to why it's important to be more personal online, and then create your own version of this. If you've ever known someone, I was not in a fraternity, but if you've ever known someone who's in a fraternity, you go to college, fraternities are these, pretty much social groups that are bonded for life. And, years later, you bump into someone who was also in that fraternity. You know nothing about them, but they were also in Zeta Kappa Keg or whatever. Immediately you feel connected and bonded with that person because you were in the same fraternity. They could have been in the fraternity completely across the country in a different state, what have you, but immediately it feels like it's your brother or your sister for a sorority, whatever, right? And same thing with religion. I think there's a connection there where it's like if you share the same religion, you just kind of immediately trust the person and understand, okay, I understand this person's morals and identity and probably their
The
what they do
values.
on Sunday, what have you, right? You feel a connection there. So it's finding that thing in your life where whatever that thing is, other people, it's a big part of their life. And so when they see that you also are part of that fraternity, it's removing the wall, the trust wall that they have up, and they go, okay, I immediately trust this person because I can tell we're going to share certain values and beliefs
Hmm.
and hobbies and routines and such. Um, so again, for kids, or for many kids, can be that thing because being a parent is like a fraternity in the sense of like what those struggles are going to
Yeah.
be. um, but it doesn't have to be that thing. It's just, what can people bond with you over? And again, it can be as small as just, a hobby that you have, or maybe it's also an opinion that you have about certain things. Maybe you have a strong belief or opinion about what's going on in the world, and you're okay with sharing it, and other people can relate to that because they share that strong opinion.
Wow. I love it. I think I'll rewatch this part myself and listen it again and
Yeah.
take even more notes because there were a lot of golden nuggets that you guys should definitely uh, take notes of. I would say.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Dave, could you share with people where they can connect with you?
Absolutely. So I say that the best way to kind of understand what I do is the proof is in the pudding, is to just watch it happen for myself. So connect with me on LinkedIn, Dave Polykoff, Polykoff. We were actually talking on the beginning of this podcast. It's Russian. Sorry, maybe it's a sensitive topic, but
Oh, come on! It's all.
the
It's honestly, it's all politics. Like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, so connect with me on LinkedIn. Let me know that you saw me on this podcast, so I know you're a big avid fan and that you've been able to kind of listen to some of the topics we chatted about today, and we can nerd out about them further. And then as well, if you are interested in my services, check out davepolykoff.com, spelled the same way. You can book a free discovery call with me, and we can check out your current state of your personal brand, and I can kind of guide you to some resources and services that'll best fit your unique needs. And then lastly, if you're interested in personal branding as well, I have a podcast, Personal Brand Blueprint, which you can also check out on my website to get a link to that.
awesome. Well, yeah, we'll definitely add all the links in the description in the keynotes. Do you have any final words for the audience?
Yeah, I think my big word that is like the keystone to personal branding that I will preach from the mountaintops is just consistency. You can have the best offer, the best messaging, um, the best intentions, but if you're not consistent and you don't continue to get the reps in and show up every day, none of that's going to matter. And that's largely why people aren't successful with their personal brands, is they get fatigue and they quit. So put that word over your bed at night, dream about it, live it, consistency. And that's how success comes in business and for your personal brand.
Awesome. Well, thanks a lot for being on the show. I personally learned quite a lot of things myself, even though I knew some of the things. And I appreciate you coming to the show.
Absolutely, Alex. Thank you for having me on. And yes, it was great. Hopefully, we'll get to have a part two maybe in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.